Welcome back to Little Mama Schoolhouse. I'm Lisa, and today I'm going to be sharing my curriculum picks for my fourth grader for the upcoming 2023 to 2024 school year. First and foremost, you will notice that we have decided to not continue with the Good and the Beautiful language arts for fourth grade. I am not sure if this is just a year off or what this means, but it first started out as a prompting, which led to prayer and then led to fasting. And here we are. So you will see that there are some changes in the way that we will be doing language arts this year. But again, I'm really excited for this new journey. So I'm sure many will wonder why we decided to not do the Good and the Beautiful any longer for language arts. And again, this was a prompting, but in my heart, I didn't feel like my girls were loving to read. I felt like it was very much a chore, and it just did not bring them joy. And when I first started homeschooling, that was like one of my number one academic goals for my children, was that they would find a love for reading. And so when that number one goal was not being met, I knew we needed to make a change. So my husband and I, we decided that we, for fulfilling their reading for language arts, that we were going to create a reading list for them. This is 45 books with 5 choice books that they can read whatever they want and add that onto their list. They have read many more than 5 so far this summer, and they are making great progress on this reading list, and they are loving it. They really enjoy it. They are reading all the time already, and I'm so grateful for that. So I'm really excited to see how this will stay the same or change or whatnot as we add in the other subjects once we get back into school. So I will share the reading list at the end of this video of what I put on for my fourth grader for her reading list for this school year. And my goal is they don't have to get it done until the end of the school year. So in 2024, which sounds so far away, but it's not. But that is when they have to finish it, is by the end of the school year. But I'm hopeful that they will finish this much sooner, and then we can just continue to add on lots of other books for them to read. But I just didn't know where they stood, but they are making great progress on that. So again, I will share that at the end of the video. Also, what I was feeling, I guess, that we were lacking was writing. My kids hate writing. It is such a chore. I don't feel like that they are at grade level for writing, and I just don't feel like the Good and the Beautiful focuses enough on it. Now, I know in the Good and the Beautiful level 4 that they do add in some writing, like more writing, and I flipped through that, but it just did not bring me peace that that was the direction we were supposed to be headed towards. So we decided to do, both my husband and I, again, he helped put this language arts program together with me, which I love that he was willing to do. And so we will be doing IEW Level A, Structure and Style. And I'm really excited about this. I've heard really great things about this, and I have been listening to their podcast for a while now, and I love it. I love the little tidbits of gold information that I receive, and I'm really excited to implement this into our schooling. And I also, this was recommended, was to make sure that you get the Portable Walls book. It's like a little folder to go with it. So I picked that up. And then I also got Fix It Grammar. This is Nose Tree Student Book Level 1. So at first, when I first glanced through this, I was like, oh, this is pretty simple. My kids will it won't be difficult for them. But I think it's really good to just in concrete, make sure that they understand grammar. And so we're going to do this because it does progressively get more difficult. And especially by the end of this book, I didn't feel like that they were quite to that level. And so I'm really excited for this grammar book. So we will be implementing that. And then for handwriting, again, I decided to not do the good and the beautiful handwriting. I felt, especially towards the end of last year, that it was very much just we were checking the box. And that's not necessarily, I didn't want that feeling. I wanted there to feel like we were like growing together and really growing and learning together, all of that. So I don't remember where I heard this. I don't know if it was from Andrew Pudwa, who is the founder of IEW, if it was from his podcast or where I found it. I think it was from one of his podcasts, but he recommended doing copy work, especially from the Bible in John chapter 1. So that is how we are going to start the school year. Will be them just merely printing John chapter 1 from the Bible. And I don't know how long it's going to take, rather than saying, okay, do this page, because I have my own personal thoughts, I guess, on that we don't need to go into. But we'll be setting a timer for like 5-10 minutes every day where they copy. So I'm wanting their best handwriting from this. And so if that means that they show up and they're just not really there and they only get a verse done or less than a verse in that 10 minutes, then that is fine. And then maybe some days they'll show up and they will get multiple verses done. Again, I felt really good about doing that and copying more from scripture. It's originally what I had wanted to do, but we very easily fell into kind of having the handwriting book, which again isn't terrible, but again, it just wasn't working the best for us. Okay, so they did start learning, both my two older ones started learning cursive last year, and they weren't quite ready for this. So I am going to have them finish these books. They haven't even started them, but it's the Prima Latina copybook, and it goes with their Latin lessons. And this is very much cursive, as you can see, and then they just copy it down below. And it goes with that lesson. Anyways, they weren't quite ready for it last year, but I think that if we practice it in a good way this year, eventually they will get there. So anyways, so they will be having this copybook. Again, it's only like 48 pages. So it's half of what a handwriting book is. And a lot of that is, they do have some just empty pages for just practice, not necessarily a lesson. So again, it will be a lot more simple. And I'm just hoping that, again, that they just enjoy this. So again, with that, then it's much easier to say, okay, 5 to 10 minute timer, because this could take a lot longer to get a page done in their best handwriting. So we will start again with the copy work from the scriptures, and then they will probably come and do this, and then we may find more scriptures, poems, just really good books. I felt good about having them do copy work from Brambley Hedge, which is like my favorite right now. So we will see. It's just kind of exciting. It feels like a lot more freedom than like, here's your handwriting book, complete this. It's a lot more fun for me to like figure out what's going to be best for them and pulling resources and all of that. Okay, so they will be continuing with the good and the beautiful math. I decided, just for the ease of it, that we are just going to go ahead and switch over completely to simply the good and the beautiful math. I have been using a lot of the old math curriculum up to this point, and I really love it. But just the ease of where everything's going, it's hard to do a curriculum that's out of print. And although the original creators of the curriculum are saying that they might bring it back to print, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So we opted to just go ahead and just do simply math this year. And then if we have to regroup for the next year, I really was hoping to not have to change a math curriculum, because I think when you change, you take a couple steps backwards every time you do that. But my husband said it was fine. Like, he felt good about just switching it. He's like, I'm not worried about where they are with math, all of that. So we just decided for the ease of it, just to kind of get up to date with where this math curricula is. So we're doing math 4. So you will see that I have them split into 2. So this is something new that I'm trying this year. So something we are not good about is starting off the year really strong with our workbooks. And so I decided that I split up how many, so we do school 4 days a week. And anyway, so they have to get 48 lessons done by Christmas time to be able to be on track to finish with all of our time off, all of our breaks, all of that by the end of the school year. Anyways, so I went ahead and I made this book. So it's 48 lessons. And so they have to start this when we get back into school. And then they have to finish this before they can go on Christmas break. Again, it's set up really easy. They should, with ease, be able to finish this as long as they are doing this 4 days a week and they stay on track of the weeks that we're on for school. We have lots of breaks, even scheduled in, and this goes well. They don't have to do any extra math during those breaks anyways. So they should easily get it done, but just the last few years, we just have not been diligent. And so then like January through March, we are just playing catch up so heavily. And I'm determined to not do that again this year. Okay, so we have this and then the rest. So then this will be the book from January to the end of the year will be this workbook. And then I went ahead, and I don't know how this is incorporated, but the Math 4 Mental Math Map Mysteries. So I went ahead and I printed that off just as a complete booklet by itself. Okay, so that is what we are doing for language arts and for math. I will go into spelling in a future video. We will be implementing that more into morning time so we can make sure that that is happening every day. And then they will also, my 2 oldest will also be working on Latin. So I shared this last year. We started this. We have not finished it. So my goal is to finish this year. So here's the workbook. And then the DVDs. So I think I shared this in a previous video that I didn't understand necessarily why the DVDs were such a something that we needed to kind of add on, but just all the reviews, everything said, make sure that you get the DVDs too. The CD comes with, if you order like a little package of the Latin, which I think is like the workbook and the copybook, you get like the CD or something with it. And then this was like an add-on, and I didn't know what to expect, but the CD is great. We keep that one in my van, and so we listen to it, and it just will say the prayer or whatever the vocab for that lesson is. But the DVD, it should have given it away, instructional DVD. So you have a teacher that's actually teaching you the Latin lesson. So that is why you need the DVDs. If you want an instructor to teach, I do have to be present for a majority of Latin, and I'm hoping that I kind of have some ideas on how to make that maybe not so intensive for me to have to be a part of, but maybe I start with them and then they can finish things on their own. But yes, this is definitely something, if you're going to teach your child Latin, especially using this curriculum, I highly recommend the instructional DVD, so that way you have a teacher that is actually teaching your kids Latin instead of guesswork a little bit. Although the book is written really easy, really well, the CD is really well, but that DVD is the added bonus that I think I needed. Okay, and then for history this year, we are going back to the story of the world. So I did this when my oldest was in kindergarten, and I think she was just too young. We really liked the activity, so I have the activity book. They loved the activity. So my oldest was in kindergarten, and then my next one was in pre-K, and so we did this together. I would read aloud a chapter, and then we would do an activity, and it was a lot of fun, but I felt like the information was just too deep for them, and I didn't it was my first year teaching, so I thought something's wrong with the curriculum because they're not necessarily retaining everything. No, they were just little. And so now that they're older, this is going to go over much more smoothly. I really do love the story of the world. We've tried many other history curriculums. I feel like every year has been a change. So I'm excited to do this, and I decided that I'm going to stick through at least for the next 4 years so we can get through all of these books. I do know The Good and the Beautiful is coming out with they're revamping their history program, but I am determined that we are just going to stick with this, get through the 4 books, and then we can decide to make changes if needed. So we will be doing this. I picked up the activity book. The activity book is a must. It adds in a lot of fun. And then I went ahead and I picked up the tests. My kids actually love tests. I know, I feel like in homeschooling, like tests are looked down upon, and that's fine if you choose not to. But my kids enjoy it. I think it's great to prepare them because, especially my oldest, she talks about college often, and you're gonna have to take tests in college no matter where you go. So it's good for them to practice. So I went ahead and got this book, and I think that they're gonna like it. It's fun. It's just multiple choice, so it's and true false, so it's really easy, simple, but again, this is kind of the stuff my kids enjoy. And then we will be continuing our co-op with our friends. So this is where they will get science, and then we will be adding on geography this year. So for science, they will be getting space science, marine biology, and then a nature study from the Beautiful Feet books. And then we will also be incorporating geography. So we will be studying, have a little portion to study each of the continents. And so that should be fun and a good introduction into different countries within those continents. So that is what we will be doing. This daughter, she will specifically be continuing in certain electives. Again, I've shared this before that I like them to choose at least 2 electives. One must be outside the home, and the other one can be in or outside the home. And so she will be doing ballet and piano. And so those are her 2 electives that she'll be focusing on, which both of those she did last year and she absolutely loves. She attends a classically trained ballet studio, and her teacher is a retired professional ballerina. And so we adore her. And then for piano, we do the Let's Play Music program. Presto is what they do. And this is their last year in the program. And it has been a game changer. I was a little hesitant. It can be a little more pricey, but they get a full hour of practice. And I don't know how they teach this, but you know, my kids went into this not knowing anything last year. One of them not having touched a piano, really, didn't know what the keys were, to being able to play beautiful pieces by Beethoven and things like that. So I definitely highly recommend that program. They do a lot of music history and there's theory. So it's very in-depth and they learn so much. We've really enjoyed that program. So those are her electives. Okay, so for the reading list, this video is getting kind of long. So again, 45 books plus 5 choice books. And I kind of split them up into, they're not really big categories by any means. So the first one is more of the like classic books that I felt like, I don't know, every 4th grader should be reading. And a lot of these books I just took from books that I wished I had read, The Good and the Beautiful book list, and things like that. Okay, so the first little grouping are classics, or at least what I put in as classics. So, Mr. Popper's Penguins, Stuart Little, Calvin and Hobbes, The Courage of Sarah Noble, Grandmother's Attic #1, The Wind in the Willows, Sarah Plain and Tall, Robin Hood, The Happy Hollisters, Escape by Night, A Civil War Adventure, Farmer Boy, Horse Diaries, Elska, The Year of the Panda, Pippi Longstocking, and Walter the Lazy Mouse. And then I went ahead and I added in 5 audiobooks. These ones are definitely a level or 2 above where she's currently at. So for those, Adventures of Tom Sawyer, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. So you can probably tell from those 3 books which books my husband recommended. The Hobbit, Anne of Green Gables. And then I also included all of the level 4 books from the Good and the Beautiful library that weren't included in a science unit. So Toby Has a Dog, The Mystery of the Night Explorers, Brian's Victory, Prudy at Meadows Farm, Over the Hills to Nugget, Lions in the Barn, Gold Mountain, Johnny McKee and the Big Flood, Baldy the American Eagle, The Dachshunds of Mama Island, The Story of a Shetland Pony, Adventures of a Possum, and then there's a book set by Margaret G. Odo, and the first one is Pumpkins, Ginger, and Syrup, and the second book is Syrup. And then I went ahead and I chose 3 biographies. Again, this is just an introduction. We will go choose other books for biographies in the future, but I just thought that this would be easiest. So we chose the Who Was series. So who was Amelia Earhart, who was Beatrix Potter, and who was Annie Oakley? I also added in 2 poetry books, and so the first one is Where the Sidewalk Ends by Shel Silverstein. I enjoyed those books, and those books were kind of my introduction into loving poetry as a child. So that one, and then A Children's Garden of Verses. And then I went ahead and I chose some books for history and science. So The Cat of Bubastis, Life in the Great Ice Age, Aesop's Fables, Imagination Station number 7, which is The Secret of the Prince's Tomb, and then the Nature Reader Birds book by The Good and the Beautiful. And then again, then they have 5 choice books that they could add on, but they've met that with ease. So they have already accomplished that. So anyways, and then at the end of the year, I will go through this and I will tell you what books were a hit and what were a miss. So that is my reading list for my 4th grader. So this is what I chose for my 4th grader for the upcoming school year. And thanks again for watching. We'll see you again next time.